The FBI documents that show Undersecretary of State Patrick Kennedy made the request for altering classification as part of a quid pro quo. In other words, a deal. This is felony corruption by any standard. Undersecretary Kennedy needs to resign.
You heard it clearly. Donald Trump wants Mr. Kennedy to resign. Now, we've got more on this, what is alleged to be a quid pro quo. That is, I'll scratch the FBI's back if you scratch the State Department's. Now this, a recent article in the Washington Post quotes an FBI agent on the case who admitted Kennedy asked for favors. Here's what the agent said. Here's the quote. This is the agent speaking. He said, Brian, Pat Kennedy, I need a favor. I said, this is the agent talking, I said, good, I need a favor. I need our people back in Baghdad. That was the deal. Change the classification on emails and FBI slots will open up overseas. The deal. The FBI agent turned it down. This is the FBI agent again. I said, absolutely not. I can't help you. And he took that and it was fine. That's the exchange. Joining us now, Mark Toner, State Department Deputy Spokesperson. Mr. Toner, welcome to the program. It's good to have you with us, sir. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.
Let me start with this. I believe it is illegal to try to change a document when it's already been subpoenaed by a court of law. And that's what Patrick Kennedy and the State Department wanted to do. I believe that's illegal, sir.
Well, look, let's take a step back here. I heard the quote that you were reading before going to me. There was no quid pro quo. I can't say it emphatically enough. Pat Kennedy called the FBI, called his colleague at the FBI, and in fact, they did talk about the classification of this email in question. And that's something that we did and have done routinely throughout the process of releasing over 55,000 pages of Secretary Clinton's emails.
But he requested a change in the classification, and that's illegal. Because that was a subpoenaed document. You can't change a document that's been subpoenaed by a court of law. It's illegal.
With all due respect, these were for public release, and what we were trying to do was determine whether these emails needed to be upgraded. The classification needed to be upgraded. We've done that with every one of these emails as we looked at them and readied them for public release. In this case, it was perfectly appropriate for him to ask what the rationale was behind the FBI's request to have this upgraded. They had a conversation. They agreed to look at it, the FBI, and in fact what happened was the FBI held its argument, and that document was upgraded appropriately. Then, as you mentioned, they also had another conversation about FBI slots or positions at the embassy in Baghdad. It was a separate conversation. There was no quid pro quo. I can't state that emphatically enough.
Is it okay, though, to offer something, FBI slots, as they're called, is it okay to offer that, FBI slots, in return for something, reclassifying documents? I mean, some people are calling that a bribe.
Not in this case, no. And that's why I'm trying to very clearly make the point that that's not what Pat Kennedy did in any way, shape, or form. We take strong objection to that inference. And in fact, the FBI itself has issued a statement saying that that was not the case. You know, when it comes to issues of classification, we take those very seriously, and we take our responsibility as the State Department to classify documents properly very seriously, which was why Pat wanted to understand, and Secretary Kennedy wanted to understand the rationale.
Mr. Toner, forgive me for a moment. I do want to put up on our screen the exchange, the email exchange, which has now been leaked out there. Can we get this up here? This is advised that in exchange for marking the email unclassified, State would reciprocate by allowing the FBI to place more agents in countries where they are presently forbidden. That seems like the outline of a deal. Where am I going wrong on this?
I'm not sure what email exchange you're referring to. You might be referring to the 302 that was released by the FBI.
Released this.
Yeah, well, let's be very clear about that. Those are not transcripts. Those are summaries based on the recollection of individuals who may have had cursory knowledge of the conversation or this exchange.
Is the FBI wrong in this case?
I can't speak to the memory or the reason why some of these FBI agents may have remembered it differently. But all I can speak to is the integrity of our Undersecretary, Pat Kennedy, and the integrity of the State Department and our role in this process of releasing Secretary Clinton's emails.
Okay. Mark Toner, we do appreciate you being with us, sir. Tricky subject, very complex. Not quite sure but we'd like to have you on the show. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Take care.